Okay, so we're back from Vegas. The Vegas series is finished, at least until next year. We're going to Cuba, but that's in a month. So right now it's a month of being back in Montreal, and I've decided to bring back my little travel story series. And this time I want to make it differently, because I have told some of my stories, but I'm sure other people have some more stories, and I want to bring those stories to you too. So today I asked my boyfriend Alex to tell one of his crazy travel stories. And I think you're gonna like it. It's a pretty crazy one. I'm glad I wasn't there with him when it happened. Anyway, you'll see. Let's get started.
Okay, so that story happened in 2010, and this is when I was traveling through Europe, Eastern Europe, a bit of Western Europe, and I ended up in Ukraine with my car, and by Ukrainian laws, I had to export my car, take it out of the country every 2 months or so. I've been approaching the 2 months mark in the country, so I had to leave. And I thought the best place to go to would be Romania, since I had quite a few friends there. So, it was a pretty easy drive, basically across Moldova. You're in Romania, it takes maybe a day, maybe not even a full day to get there. So I was driving using a GPS like any normal person would. And at some point I get to the border of Ukraine and Moldova, and there was a sign that says something like "Welcome to the Republic of," or Moldovan Republic of something. I didn't pay much attention, I knew it was Moldova. And as I'm driving in through the gate, like this whole bunch of kids, well not kids, like young guys, 18-year-old guys with AK-47s pointing at me, they surround the car and they're telling me to shut off the engine. They're asking me all these questions. What are you doing here? Where are you going? And to be honest, I got pretty scared because I've never had guns pointed at me, let alone at a border crossing. This is okay, what's going on? And so I told them I'm going to Romania to see some friends and stuff like that. They actually asking me, why aren't you going through Moldova? Why did you decide to go through here? And I told them, well, it is Moldova, isn't it? That's when they started laughing and they said, no, that's Transnistria, or Trans-Dniestr in Russian. And that's when it really clicked. I was like, okay, that doesn't make much sense. Why am I here? How did I even end up here?
When you first told me that story, I had no idea what's that place.
Okay, so basically Transnistria is a breakaway territory in the country of Moldova. When Soviet Union collapsed, there was a kind of a grab of land. Some people, they decided that Moldova should be a part of Russia and shouldn't be independent. And it's not even part of Russia. They actually want the Soviet Union to come back in full force. And in 2017, right now, although the story happened in 2010, they still want the Soviet Union to come back and they want to be part of it.
It's a land in limbo, recognized by no sovereign nation. A land that still lives under the hammer and sickle.
Stalin тут.
So it's very similar to Kosovo. It's very similar to what's happening in the eastern Ukraine right now. It's what happened in Chechnya and Georgia, many countries where these pro-Russian or pro-Soviet people trying to take part of that land and join Russia or whatever. And that's exactly what happened there. This really small strip of land in the country of Moldova. People had guns. There were other countries that supported them. They brought them guns, and they decided to make their own country. However, this country is not recognized by anyone. There is no any big authority that recognizes them. They're only recognized by 2 or 3 other territories. They're in exactly the same situation where nobody recognizes them as independent countries. So GPS, Google Maps, just normal physical maps that you would buy in the store, they will never tell you that there's such a thing as Transnistria. They'll just show you it's a regular border with Moldova, nothing to worry about. And you end up at this land where they're pointing guns and they're telling you it's a different country. So whatever, they kind of letting me through that border, and they're telling me that I have to see one agent and another agent, and I start filling out some kind of papers. And this is where the bribing starts. So one guy is telling me, okay, your driver's license, I don't know how to read it. Is it an O or is it a 0? And I'm telling the guy, well, that's my name.
How would you have a 0 in
you know,
your
yeah,
name?
there's like, I can't have a 0 in my name. It's a letter O. And the guy says, you know what? I think you could be lying. You like we could arrest you for forging papers and stuff like that. So I'm starting to freak out again. He's like, you know, there's an easy way. Just give me like, I don't recall the exact numbers. It was something like 3 euros or 5 euros. Not a big amount, but he's saying, well, you have to kind of pay me that money. So I just like, okay, your papers. And that's what I did. So the next step, I have to go through the actual a booth where I have to declare myself, the reason why I'm coming to the country. So I make this paper and I put the reason is a transit or something like that. And it takes like 30-40 minutes to fill out the paper. It's really long. And when I'm done, the agent says, well, it's not a transit because you're coming in as a visitor, so you have to redo all the papers. So I redo the papers once again. Then I ask him, what do I put for my car? Because I'm importing a car in a way. I mean, I'm driving in with my own car. And he said, well, you have to put your car as a transit. If you're not planning to sell it here, it's basically a transit. So I do that. And I get these papers, I go to see another agent. And he's like, well, why did you put your car as a transit? That doesn't work for cars. So once again, he's like, you have to redo the papers and you have to write that you're importing a car because we don't have this law for transit of cars. Really complicated. In the end, I have to give him a bribe once again. So he basically okays my papers, lets me through. I also have to pay an import fee on my car, which is like 0.0001%, which ends up being like another 2 euros or 5 euros or something like that. And once I paid all of that, I'm finally going to the final gate to leave the actual border crossing territory. And they're closing the gate in my face, and it's about 8 p.m. And the guy says, well, I'm sorry, we're closing the border, you'll just have to leave, go outside the way you came from, and you have to wait until tomorrow morning to cross the border.
Oh, shit.
And I was like, okay, dude, like, what do you want? 5 euros? He's like, yeah, they'll do it. I'll let you through for 5 euros. So I gave this guy 5 euros. Finally, I'm like, okay, finally, I'm gonna, I'm out of this hell. And I drive for about 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes. And I'm getting to another border crossing that says, you are now leaving the territory of Transnistria and you're entering Moldova. So all the trouble, I don't know, 3-4 hours wasted, whole bunch of money wasted on bribing these people because otherwise they wouldn't let you through.
Guns at your face.
Yeah, guns pointed at you to finally cross the whole country in 10 minutes. And when I'm leaving, there's another border crossing where they let you out of Transnistria and you see like these tanks and combat vehicles just parked in the bushes all along the road, and they kind of look like they've been there for years and they haven't moved, so I don't expect them to be actually working and functioning, but it does scare you a little bit. And once again, you have a whole bunch of young soldiers just walking around with guns, looking at your papers and letting you out. There was no bribing going on at that point. I had a few of these people come up to me and they were asking me to do a burnout with my car, and they were asking like, yeah, what kind of horsepower is the car pushing? Like all these questions about cars because, they're young guys, they're interested in cars. And they asked me the same questions like, oh, why are you going to Romania? Or how come you were in Ukraine? But it wasn't like I had to declare. They were just curious about me and the car. So they just wanted the conversation. No guns pointed at me at that point anymore.
So you made some Transnistrian friends.
Yeah, exactly. So that was one of the craziest stories that I really didn't expect to happen. I really didn't plan on it. And I guess I've discovered a new country, which is not really a country, that GPS will not show. So if you're ever making the trip from Moldova to Ukraine or from Ukraine to Moldova by land, make sure you Google Transnistria first and see exactly where the breakaway land is, so you don't have to pass through there, and you could pass through the southern part where Transnistria doesn't exist and it's basically Moldova-Ukraine border. So yeah, that was one of the crazier travel stories that I could share today.
That's a crazy travel story, man. Anyway, I hope you guys liked it. And I'm going to try to bring in more people with more crazy stories. Because, like you see, I'm not the only one with some adventures like this. So, I'll try to find some more for you.
Ha 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 ha!